Hi, everybody. It's Eric Murray from the sugarhuddle.com. Well, the other day I posted a story on the sugarhuddle.com about how there's been a record number of underclassmen entering the upcoming 2019 NFL draft. 135 underclassmen have declared for the NFL draft. The deadline has came and went already. And of course, we got the Senior Bowl coming up this weekend. The NFL Combine itself is going to be coming up in a little over a month's time, end of February. And then, of course, the draft itself, end of April, beginning of May. I forget the exact date this year, but usually last weekend of April, first weekend of May. So that'll be right around the corner as well. But I just wanted to make this video real quick to kind of follow up on the story I wrote the other day for the website, just basically kind of talking about, why so many underclassmen, why more and more of them are declaring, and some of the pros and cons of their decision to declare. Of course, there's obviously a lot of high-profile names, underclassmen, that declare every year. Kyler Murray, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of Oklahoma, he's one. A lot of people were surprised he declared. Some people thought maybe he'd go play Major League Baseball. Of course, Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State quarterback. This is supposed to be a historic year as far as defensive linemen. You've got a number of high-profile defensive linemen. Nick Bosa from Ohio State. Dexter Lawrence, who was suspended for the playoff for national champion Clemson Tigers, amongst other, Rashawn Gary from Michigan, of course, a number of others as well. But anyways, there's also a lot of guys, when you have 135 players declaring, obviously there's a lot of guys that you look at and say, you know what, these guys are going to be mid-round picks at best, some of them late-round picks, and some of them are going to go undrafted, and there's an NFL advisory board that, you put in paperwork, and this board kind of projects, where they think you're going to go in the draft. And a lot of times they tell you you're going to be a late round pick or you're going to go undrafted, and yet these guys still declare. So I'm going to kind of talk about, why these guys, do some of the things they do as far as declaring for the draft early, even when they know that's not a great decision. So this video is really more aimed at the guys who aren't the premier first round caliber talents more often than not that decide to declare. When you look at some of the reasons that they declare, and I guess it would also be kind of some of the pros to their decision. College, I know you could make the argument about, well, these guys do get full ride scholarships, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 plus scholarships. And I certainly can't argue against that, but there's a lot of guys who'd rather just get the money and not even go to class, because a lot of them just go to school to play football. That's just the way it is. So, they're playing for free, scholarship or not. We're not going to go round and round arguing about it, but they're not getting actual money. And, of course, their coaches are getting millions. The school is making millions and millions off their football teams. That's the revenue-generating sport. So for a lot of guys, it's like, why play for free in college for my senior year when I can go to the NFL? Even if I'm not a high draft pick, I'm still going to be getting paid, and I'm still going to be getting paid a lot more than the average person. The average person, normal middle-class person, let's say they make $40,000 a year. Well, as a rookie in the NFL, you're going to make at least $400,000, especially if, assuming you make the 53-man roster, of course, and can stay on the team the whole year and don't get cut. You're going to make at least 10 times that. And even as a practice squad player, usually if you can survive the practice squad the entire year, practice squad guys who survive the whole year on the practice squad make over $100,000 a year now. So that's, you're still talking 2-3 times, 4 times what the average person makes. So, still a pretty darn good deal either way. So, for a lot of guys, it comes down to, I don't want to play, basically for free, for argument's sake, at the college level. I don't want to risk injury because, obviously the rule is you have to be out of college or out of high school for 3 years before you become eligible. So obviously a lot of guys look at it and say, you know what, why go back to school for another year and further risk injury? And another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is, there's a lot of guys that they have really great years, as a junior or redshirt sophomore even, and they look at it and say, you know what, I'm not going to do any better than this year. And, what happens if my production goes down? Why come back for another year? Of course, there's coaching changes, and sometimes guys don't fit the offense or defense, whatever side of the ball they play, of the new coaching staff. So it makes no sense to come back to school. So you kind of have to roll the dice there. Some guys don't want to transfer in that case. Think about it too, is some guys just, aren't the greatest athletes. don't have the greatest 40 times, don't have the greatest measurables, no matter how productive they are in college, just because of the fact that they don't have those things, and in some cases they don't play at a Power 5, major program, they look at it and say, you know what, if I come back for another year, my draft stock's not going to improve any, so, what's the point? So, those are some of the reasons why guys do that. Another big thing, of course, is, so many guys that are getting these scholarships, grew up in poverty or close to poverty, and so, again, like I mentioned, the financial terms, a way to instantly help your family. There's guys who have kids in college and even in high school they're playing major college football, and so obviously it's an opportunity for them to take care of their family, because sometimes these insurance policies only go so far. And of course the last thing to also consider is the NFL, the majority of the NFL is made up of the late round draft picks, the day 3 picks, 4 through 7, and the undrafted free agents. And there's so many guys who are later round picks who became success stories, long-term starters, Pro Bowlers, obviously Hall of Famers, as well as guys who are undrafted free agents. Think about Tony Romo, think about Priest Holmes. So, some of these guys think, what, even if I'm not the most refined, even if I'm not the most developed guy, if I have enough skills to play in the NFL, I'll get a shot, and maybe I can catch on, make a 53-man roster, and really prove myself professionally. Now, the downside is really just the opposite of all that argument. If it's one of those things that if you have the NFL skill set, but you've been an underachiever, whether it's work ethic or for some reason you just haven't been getting the job done, even if you do work hard, NFL teams are going to look at that and say, why has this guy, been underachieving as badly as he has? Some guys, even if they don't have off the field issues, which is a big reason why some guys declare for the draft early, and a big reason to also come back to school to kind of, clean up your act. There's some guys that, they're just underachieving, and you kind of have to ask yourself, why are they continuously underachieving? And that can really sink your draft stock. And for some of these guys, coming back to school for another year really can help your game, and you can shoot up the charts, and suddenly you go from being a 4th, 5th round pick or maybe an undrafted to becoming a first rounder. So, there's kind of pros and cons to coming back and finishing out your eligibility, even if you risk the injury side of it. And, it's just one of those things that, a lot of these guys, they don't realize that, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to take my chances by coming out early because I don't want to play college football anymore. And, they can say, okay, I don't care if I'm a late round pick or undrafted because some of these guys make it. Well, not every guy's going to make it. It's a late round or an undrafted. You get very little signing bonus, especially the NFL. The way the contracts are mostly not guaranteed, you're in a position where if you get cut from training camp like right away as a rookie, your career might be basically over. You might not get a chance necessarily on a practice squad. I mean, you got to remember, there's only so many guys that wind up on a practice squad, and you might have to go to CFL, and CFL you make nothing. Maybe you get hurt early on in your NFL career, and you're kind of forced to retire early. There's some guys that don't realize that they have underlying health issues, and that gets discovered at the NFL Combine and private workouts, and suddenly you have to retire from football. It's like, well, if I would have stayed in school, I could have at least gotten a degree, and now you have to pay your own way to finish out college, and all of a sudden, that could really put you in the hole. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but the thing is, this trend, it seems like every year more and more underclassmen declare, and I think a lot of it too a lot of it is because a lot of these guys in high school, are attending all these camps and combines and getting private coaches. So they're really ready when they come to college. And so they really only need a year or two of college football to be NFL ready, especially if they're very gifted athletically. So I think as far as, this trend, it's going to continue. More and more underclassmen are going to declare. Sometimes there's not always very strong senior classes. It's not going to be like the NBA, but nonetheless, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think in a lot of cases, even if you're not a high-round pick, it makes sense to declare early. And I think in a lot of cases, you're foolish if you don't come back for another year to help your own draft stock. So I think it's a case-by-case basis, but unfortunately, I don't think, a lot of these 135 guys probably are making the wrong decision, or at least a percentage. But anyways, go to sugarhuddle.com, like my Facebook page, the Sugar Huddle, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.